Hey YouTube, this is Magician34, and I'm bringing you a Magic the Gathering Gatecrash Game Day. It was late February. This is our participation card, the Zombie Guild Mage. And for making 4th place, I also got a copy of this cool Fireman Avenger alternate art full card. Looks really nice. Um, I'm really short of cards from Gatecrash, and I haven't gotten to buy as many packs as I wanted to, so suffice it to say my resources were really limited. In fact, I almost didn't go. But I thought, there is one thing. Even if you don't have good stuff in most games, you can always, if you're a good player and you have an aggressive deck, you can sort of essentially steal wins anyway. So I decided to go with a guild I did have from Return to Ravnica, and I played Selesnya because there's a lot of really good support and fun stuff. So I'm gonna go up the mana curve. We got 2 Dryad Militant. They really mess around with Snapcasters. And they're just good early aggression, and you can Rancor them and stuff like that and put a lot of early pressure on. I think it's a good card, and you can always side it out if it's not the best matchup for it. 3 copies of Strangleroot Geist, because this guy's amazing. He puts on a lot of early pressure and as well, and obviously he's kind of hard to kill. And those early game Supreme Verdicts really don't scare him very much. We're also running 3 Centaur Healers. This is kind of a mid-range aggression deck, but the healer is really nice. He helps you maintain against aggressive decks earlier on in the game. Stay afloat until you hit 4, which is where you really your stuff really comes together. We're running 3 copies of Deadbridge Goliath. In my opinion, this is a very underestimated card in Standard right now. I don't see a lot of people playing it. But it's a 5/5 that's a 4-drop, and so it usually takes quite a commitment to kill it. 1 to 2 cards usually. And when that happens, he's just in your yard so that you can scavenge in mid to late game. The only match I lost, I nearly won. And basically, I just had a long series of bad top decks of lands in a row. That was the only reason I didn't win, because I used this guy after a big board wipe to make my Dryad Militant a 7/6. So yeah, it can be really useful in the mid to late game, especially when paired with Rancor, which obviously is going to be coming back to you a lot. But mostly just a good beat stick, because very few things can kill him. Also running 1 copy of Trostani, largely because I only own the 1 copy. Like I say, this deck was kind of interesting in that regard, but it was amazing. It really, any game I got this out, there's a lot of aggressive stuff out there. If I got this out, I basically won straight up. There was one game where I dropped this guy on turn 4, didn't even block because I knew it was going to be one of those things, block and then burn spell. Then next turn I cast Deadbridge Goliath, gain 5. Next turn Thragtusk, gain 10. It's just silly, and then when you start populating beasts every turn, it's a really good card. Also underplayed in my opinion. 1 copy of Sublime Archangel, largely once again because I don't own more than one. But this too can be kind of fun. Mostly it was just an evasive beat stick, but obviously if things like Militant and Strangleroot become useless in the mid game, she can turn them into something useful because of her Exalted. So not bad. Probably would have run 2 if I'd had them. Running 3 copies of Restoration Angel because there's a lot of things in this deck, obviously, that you want to flicker and gain their effect again. I even used her once with Strangleroot because I was about to get board wiped, so I got bonfired for 2. So I used her to bring her in. She didn't die from the bonfire, obviously. She flickered the Strangleroot so that it came back without its counter, and then it came back after the bonfire as a 3/2 because its Undying activated again, which was awesome. A little more evasive beat stick, good thing to put Rancor on again. Everything in this deck's good to put Rancor on. Everything's good to put Rancor on. 3 copies of Thragtusk just because of his 5 casting cost. It's the only reason we're not running 4. There is a 4th in the side deck, which we'll get to. This guy's just insane. Even with Reckoner around, this guy is still a ridiculously good beat stick. And up here we got our last creature. I did run 2 copies of Armada Worm. He's not too hard to get, but he's really good, especially when you consider that we do have some ways to pump him up and make those tokens really useful. But right about mid-game is where, around when you get 6 lands is where you might start to lose your control and not quite kill someone. But Armada Worm puts the pressure right back on, and just 1 card by itself. And we do have a number of pump spells that go really well with this. So getting on to our spells, we do have 3 Call of the Conclave, which I put it with the spells because it's not technically a creature, but obviously it's basically a creature. It's just your your 2-drop 3/3. Once again, early pressure. This is part of your ground pounding force for early game. Do have 1 copy of Entreat the Angels. Don't know if I would have run an extra if I'd had one, or if I just would cut it now that I've played it. I got it in my opening hand one too many times. But it's a really good rip off the top, obviously, because it gives you a lot of evasive flyers for relatively cheap. In this deck, even if I cast it just when I got like 4 mana, 3 or 4 even, it's enough that usually you can kind of thump them hard enough to complete the game, because you come out pretty fast and strong in this deck. Also, 3 copies of Selesnya Charm. This was a really good card for me, and I got plenty of opportunities to exile stuff because there are plenty of things that are 5 and bigger. In fact, your opponents kind of need stuff 5 and bigger against this deck, so this just plays it up great. I love exiling Thragtusks with this. But in a pinch, of course, you can also pump your stuff 2/2 and trample, which is good because a lot of people like to block just barely enough for your guys. This can even save Thragtusk to force him to kill it again, blah blah blah, and it makes a knight in a pinch, so it's just a great card. And I've noticed this card making a lot of lists. 1 copy, Moment of Heroism, but I decided to go ahead and opt for 2. And this card never disappointed me, especially against aggro decks. I'd like drop the Thrag and be just about ready to die, and attack or attack with the Restoration Angel. Use this, and I just utterly turned the game around. It's an amazing card. It almost always saves your creature, and then it gains you so much back that they can't retaliate on the next turn. Really useful. I can see why it's making a lot of lists. And we're running 4 Rancors. I nearly ran 3, but I was kind of thinking there's never really a bad time to have multiple Rancors, especially in a deck like this. So I went ahead and ran 4, and it never disappointed me. It was amazing. Wish I'd drawn it more. And the last card, 2 Smite, because it was reprinted in Gatecrash. So I use these cool Stronghold versions instead. If it's the same card. And it's very good for killing Boros Reckoner, because Reckoner always wants to block to get his little damage tricks started. And lots of things with Madcap skills, you get to double block and then kill him with this instead of taking that heinous damage, especially from like anything with first strike. So this card is amazing, did a lot of work for me, might even run a 3rd, looking back. Really useful, kind of undervalued right now, I think. For lands, 3 Temple Garden, and 4 Sunpetal Grove. Don't like shocking myself, really, so Sunpetal Grove a lot better for the most part. Gavany Township, really nice. And then the remainder of our lands, we got 9 forests here, and 7 plains. So that's a 24 land count, favored a little bit more on the forest side. And the side deck I'll go through right quick. The Aura deck was getting really popular in my area, and it's hard to stop that Hexproof Geist, obviously, so I'm running 4 copies of Sundering Growth because I can always pop it off for 2, and it populates, which is good with the Call of the Conclave, because basically not only do I shut down their big pumped creature, but then I also get another 3/3 to beat them with, and it can be useful with like Armada Worm and Thragtusk as well. So when I went with 4, I went ahead and, because I built this deck in literally like about 30 minutes from the ground up, I pitched 1 War Priest of Thune just because he pops enchantments and he's a little 2/2 beater. So it keeps my creature curve up while still controlling the auras, so I thought I'd try one of him. And to keep aggro decks like Gruul and whatnot down as well, I opted for Basilica Guards just because he's a 3-drop 1/4, so he's usually kind of a commitment to bother killing. And that Extort goes really well with Rancors and whatnot, lots of cheap spells we can cast in this deck. And they were nice. And speaking of things with high toughness to slow people down, Rock's Faithmender, because this deck has a fair amount of life gain, and this guy can make it really sick and stupid. So he's nice. His forecasting cost makes me think maybe I wouldn't use him again, but he's still quite good. For Thragtusk, 2 copies of Rest in Peace, for all the right opponents, of course. I opted for 2 more copies of Dryad Militant for the right matchups, but I never really saw... I didn't see any like unburial rates or anything, so probably wouldn't opt for those again, but it was a cool idea. And last but not least, I ran 1 Angelic Skirmisher because I knew that in certain matchups I could swap her in as another 6-drop, because she'd be a little bit more useful than Armada Worm against aggro decks, and her ability to give my army first strike or lifelink is just really, really amazing and can just crush people absolutely. So I did opt for 1 copy of her. And like I said, I built this really quickly, but I went 4 in 1, and my opponents were all really good. I didn't really get anybody bad or noobish. So yeah, it was good. And so that was my Selesnya aggro for game day, and until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more cool gaming content.